or taken anywhere, right?
Yes, sir.
And between that time, he was able to see what your uniform looked like, didn't he?
Yes.
And in fact, your uniform, at that point, when you were speaking with Lieutenant Henry, your shirt wasn't pulled out, was it?
I don't know.
Do you have problems with your memory about this very significant incident, sir?
No, it's 3 years ago. I don't remember everything about it.
Yes or no? Do you have any problems or no?
Again, the answer is it's 3 years ago. I don't remember everything about it, and I don't believe I ever took a look to see how terrible my uniform looked.
Well, you do remember going to the bathroom, right?
Yes, sir.
When you went to the bathroom, sir, you indicated that you remembered something about your uniform then, correct?
I don't think I said I remembered something about my uniform. I think I said I may have tucked it in.
So when you say you may have tucked it in, that implies that you had your shirt out, correct?
Well, it implies that I may have tucked it in.
When you tuck something into, when you're talking about tuck it in, we're talking about the shirt, right?
Yes, it implies.
So when you're talking about tucking the shirt in, that implies that the shirt was out, correct?
Oh, I'm implying that it's a natural reaction when you use the restroom. You clean that up.
So that doesn't mean then that your shirt, when you said you tucked it in, it doesn't mean that your shirt was out prior to whatever it was that you did in the bathroom, right? That's not what you meant to say.
It doesn't mean that it was. It doesn't mean that it wasn't. It's just a natural reaction, a response when you go to the bathroom to clean that up.
Aside from the natural reaction, sir, isn't it true that you're not telling us that your shirt was out prior to the time that you were taken to the restroom, right? You're not telling us that, right? You're not telling us that you even remember whether or not your shirt was outside of your uniform, right?
No, I'm not telling you that.
And in fact, there were other people that were there at the scene when you came out of the trailer within 30 minutes of your killing this individual, right?
Yes, there were people there within a few minutes.
And there were people there that within 30 minutes. For example, Lieutenant Ben Henry, right?
Again, I don't remember what time, but yes, he showed up.
And he spoke to you, right?
Yes, he did.
And he was close enough to you to see your uniform, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
And it was daylight so that it wasn't like the lighting conditions were bad, right?
No, it was daytime, but it was cloudy out. Like I said, there was a storm that day, but I'm not saying that he couldn't see my uniform.
Well, so it was daylight outside, right?
Yes.
And you say it was cloudy, right? This was before the rain, right?
Yes.
So he was close enough to you to be able to speak to you, right?
Yes.
And that meant that he was close enough to be able to see you, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you had your uniform on at that time, right?
Yes, sir.
You hadn't done anything to your uniform prior to him arriving there, correct?
No, I don't recall doing anything to it.
So if you don't recall, it means you didn't do anything to your uniform, right?
I don't have recollection of doing anything to
Are
it.
you saying that you remember tucking your shirt in after you came out of the trailer after killing this man?
That's what I'm saying. I don't have any recollection of doing anything with my uniform.
So you can't tell us, and you're not saying to us that at some point between the time you came out and the time you went out with Lieutenant Henry that you actually had your shirt out. You're not saying that, right?
I'm not saying I did. I'm not saying I didn't. I'm saying I have no recollection of it.
What you're saying is that you could have had your shirt out, right? Is that what you're saying?
It could have. It could have been tucked in. It could have been... I'm trying to say that I may have tucked it in. I may not have tucked it in. It may have been just the way it was. I have no recollection of that.
Do you have any recollection of how you presented when you were speaking with Lieutenant Henry?
I don't think we talked much. He asked if I was okay.
I'm not asking you what you talked about. I'm asking about how you presented. In other words, your uniform. Your shirt was tucked in when you were speaking with Lieutenant Henry, wasn't it?
I believe I've answered that already. I don't have any recollection of whether my shirt was tucked in or not tucked in.
So, and you don't have a recollection, so you would defer to his recollection. Is that what you're saying?
If he has a recollection of how much there was.
Would you, yes or no, defer to his recollection?
Sure.
Sir, with regard to that particular time when you had this photograph taken, which is 202, you still had your pen in your pocket, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Hadn't lost it during the struggle, had you?
No.
Hadn't left it behind in the trailer, right?
No.
During all of this time when you're getting on top of him and drive stunning him and trying to push the door open and he's picking up supposedly the bicycle, that pen never left your pocket, right?
No, it did not.
Same thing with the handcuff key, right?
Yeah.
The answer is yes, right?
Yeah, same thing, it was there.
And in fact, with regard to your uniform there's no tearing that went on, right?
Not that I see, no.
Well, not that you see. Sir, you were there, weren't you?
I was there.
Yeah, you had your uniform on, right?
I did.
He never even reached out and grabbed your uniform, did he?
I don't know.
Well, you were there and you said that you were paying attention. You weren't paying attention to Officer Virgilio, were you?
I was pretty involved in the situation. It was a very high-stress situation.
No one's asking you if it was a high-stress situation. I'm asking you, you weren't paying attention to Officer Virgilio, right? You just told us that yesterday.
When I approached the door?
No, when you were inside involved in the struggle that you described.
No, I was not paying attention, Officer Virgilio. I was paying attention to Daniel.
You were focused on the person, right?
Yes, sir.
And whatever that person did, you told us about that yesterday, right?
Yes.
You never mentioned anything about him grabbing your uniform at all, do you?
Did not.
But he didn't grab your uniform, right?
Not that I can recall.
Again, it goes back to what you can recall. Are you having problems with memory so that you have to say, I don't, it's to what I can recall? Are you having problems today?
No.
Yesterday you didn't tell us about it though, right?
No, I did not.
Even though you're in there, how long? 2 or 3 minutes, he never touched your uniform, right?
I've answered that, Mr. Martinez. I don't recall him ever touching my uniform, and I didn't say yesterday that he did.
And with regard to your arms, he never touched your arms, did he?
Yes, he did.
No, you touched his arms, didn't he? Didn't you?
Yes, and then he touched mine the first time I went hands-on with him. When I put my hand up behind his bicep and he jerked away, he smacked my arm.
That's right, he jerked away. It's not the same as reaching out and grabbing him, is it?
No, he did not reach out and grab me.
Right. You went and you touched him first and then he jerked away, right?
Jerked away and pushed my hand away.
He never touched your hands in any way, shape, or form to cause any injury to your forearms, did he?
No.
He never did anything to your hands to cause any injuries to you on your hands, right?
No.
He never kicked you in the legs or anything like that, did he?
No, sir.
He never reached out and grabbed you in the hand at all, did he?
No, I don't believe so, no.
Sir, the way this happened is you went to the door and you knocked and you opened the door, right?
Yes.
When you opened the doors, when you saw some dogs, right?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez wasn't even near the door when you opened it, correct?
No.
And as I understand it, you then sort of cracked the door or kept it open a space so you could still see what was going on inside, right?
Yes.
And that's when Mr. Rodriguez approached the door, right?
Yes.
When he approached the door, he didn't have anything in his hands, did he?
No.
And when he approached the door, the one thing that he did was try to close the door, right?
Correct.
He didn't touch you in any way, shape, or fashion, right?
No.
In other words, he wasn't coming at you, he was trying to get away from you, wasn't he?
He was closing the door.
Which is trying to avoid contact with you, right?
Yes.
He didn't reach through the door and try to grab your hands, did he?
No.
He didn't look at you with those eyes that you supposedly said and throw anything at you, right?
No.
And the other thing that happened then is that you then pushed the door open, right?
I didn't.
You were the aggressor in that at that point, right?
No, sir.
Well, you were the one that was pushing the door against his will, right?
Yes.
So that means you're the aggressor and he's the defender, isn't he?
No, sir. I have a job to do. And
I'm
as
not
I stated
asking-
yesterday, I can't.
I'm not asking you if you had a job to do. Your job is not to go out and kill anybody, is it? That's not your job, is to go kill people, is it?
No.
You then pushed the door open, didn't you?
Yes.
And that was against his will. You knew that, right?
Yes, he was trying to lock us out.
He didn't want you in there, right?
No, he did not.
But then you were able to get inside, right?
Yes.
Officer Virgilio wasn't there. You don't know where he was at that point, right? Because you were focused on this person, right?
Yes.
And when you went inside, you indicated that that's when you were able to grab him, right?
Yes,
You grabbed him, right?
I did.
He did not grab you, right?
No, I did not.
You were the aggressor, true?
I was attempting to detain him.
You were the one that was initiating the action, weren't you?
Yes.
And he was the one that was attempting to defend from it by moving his hand, correct?
Defend from being detained? If you mean try to get away, yes, that's what he was doing.
Defend from you moving forward on him, yes. Right?
He was trying to get away.
That's right. He wasn't trying to injure you in any way, shape, or form, right?
I don't believe so.
No. He was trying to get away, right?
Yes.
And then, at that point, is that when Officer Virgilio you see him or not?
No.
That's when you see the dogs then, right?
That's when I grabbed him again, and yes, that's when I noticed the pit bull coming at me.
But you grabbed him again, right?
Yes.
So now you've grabbed him twice. This is the second time that you've grabbed him, right?
Yes.
And he's never attempted to grab you, right?
No.
And in fact, you didn't see anything in his hands, right?
No.
You can't see through clothing. As good as your training has been, you can't see through his clothing, can you?
Oh,
You cannot read minds, can you?
no. No, I cannot.
You don't know what he's thinking, right?
No, I do not.
And you didn't see any knife that was in any back pocket, right?
I did not.
You never saw a knife ever throughout this whole encounter, did you?
No, sir, I didn't know anything about a knife until after everything was over.
So therefore, this knife that has been presented in this case, that did not form any basis in your mind to determine or to make you feel apprehensive, right?